This is the calendar I made for yesterday. As productivity YouTubers say to do, I included a high energy task, a low energy task, and some fun recreational activity for the evening. Now in terms of what I actually did, I managed to wake up, which was unfortunate, and then I did literally none of this. Not even this. In fact, this happens basically every time I try to implement a productivity hack from YouTube. For example, I've barely eaten from my Notion plate. I used this for about 2 days. But all this is clearly my fault, right? After all, productivity YouTubers know what they're talking about. Ali Abdaal makes over $1 million a year and has a really good pyramid scheme course for getting big on YouTube. Kharma Medic is like a medic. But after a lot of thinking about it, I realized that's actually just ridiculous. I realized that actually they are the problem. Productivity YouTubers are psychopaths. What works for them does not work for others. And you may think this is a thinly veiled excuse to cover up my mildly crippling addiction to anime and generally unproductive activities, but you would be wrong. Most productivity YouTubers always claim they're able to work for many hours on end. So you would think they'd be able to give some logical and actionable advice on how they actually do that. For example, James Scholz manages to work for over 12 hours a day. And in his video explaining how he does that, he says he should value drive over motivation. And this is valid because motivation is temporary, whereas drive and routine is permanent, I think. But this is what he says in regards to how he actually managed to get that drive in the first place.
You know, I got things I want in my life. I want to buy my mom a big house. I want to be a great father. I want to help people. And things like sitting there on Instagram all day, watching pointless YouTube videos all day, rotting away don't get me there. And that's drive.
This is making me uncomfortable. You know who emotionally invests themselves in a slightly toxic way in order to be able to do a lot of work and be productive? Myself back in school. But also psychopaths. But if you're still not convinced, here's another example. This is Kharma Medic, and this is how he studies for 4 hours without any breaks.
I honestly don't allow myself to get up and out of my desk until I've done an hour of study. If I haven't been able to sit down and do productive, solid work for an hour, do I really deserve to go take a break? No.
Out of here, guys. Don't get out of your chair until you've done some work. You want to go to the toilet? Go fuck yourself. A productive person would just piss themselves in their chair. And there are plenty of other absurd examples that, if I included in this video, would make it way too long. But above all, the thing that annoys me the most, apart from these absurd examples, are just how generic the advice actually is. Let's look at how Zach Hiley studies for 70+ hours a week. In the first chapter of the video, he talks about sleep, where he basically just says if you get a sufficient amount of sleep each night, then you can actually function better during the next day, which, you know, honestly just blew my mind when I found out about that. Who knew that getting 8+ hours of sleep actually allows you to do more work during the day? That was actually quite fascinating. In the second chapter, he talks about how exercise basically releases endorphins, and then like that makes you happy and that allows you to do more work. Again, just really unique advice. And then he talks about environment, which I'll literally just play a clip.
Every time I sit at a certain spot on my desk, I know it's study time. If it's playtime, I'll actually just sit on a different side of the table.
And then finally, mindset, which is basically just the usual bullshit. I know the advice is a little bit more nuanced than that, but if you can follow this advice and work 70+ hours a week, then you are a psychopath. And I am very jealous because I need that kind of ability in my life. But anyway, my actual advice would be to first be kind on yourself and not judge your self-worth based on how many hours you work during a day, unlike what most productivity YouTubers imply. And secondly is to slowly build up the amount of work you do each week by setting concrete goals, all whilst taking breaks and like going outside and stuff to maintain your sanity, which is something I struggle with. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video.